Welcome to the Inspired Hygiene Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Wall. I'm an RDH and founder of Inspired Hygiene. For over 20 years, we've had the unique opportunity to see what really happens inside thousands of dental hygiene ops and what it takes to create transformational change that impacts the lives of patients, practice owners, and teams. Each season, we'll focus on one powerful topic, breaking it down with practical strategies, real stories, and tools you can use right away. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Inspired Hygiene Podcast. So if you are just joining us, we are in season 5 of the Inspired Hygiene Podcast. So there's a lot of good nuggets for you to find in our previous episodes. And just to kind of give everyone a little reminder, we set this podcast up in seasons so that we could focus on specific topics kind of all together. Now, I don't know if we'll do that like that forever, but it's worked really well so far. We are now officially over 1 year into our podcast, so that's exciting. Like we're still here, which is great. Apparently, that puts us in I don't know what like the top 5% of podcasts, which is kind of surprising. But this has been really fun. And one of the things that you have heard me say many times when I have guests on the podcast is, I have known this person for 20, 30 years. And the same is going to be true today with Janet Hagerman. Janet, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. It is my pleasure, Rachel.
Yeah, so let's take it back just a little
Oh
bit.
dear.
I think
Okay.
I think we met in 2000 probably, maybe even a little bit earlier than that.
Could have been.
And you and I both were hired as among the first, I'm going to say it was like six or eight of us, hygiene coaches. We were hired, we were mentored, we were trained by the amazing Victoria Peterson 26, 27 years ago. And it's just really been fun to see how all of our careers have developed and evolved and grown, and yet we've all like stayed in touch, and it's just been really remarkable and really, really special.
Absolutely. I feel a special bond with all of our fellow queens, we call them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as hygiene queens is kind of
Yeah.
what we nicknamed ourselves years and years ago before we had any idea what that actually meant. Um,
Well, just to put things in perspective, I was at your bachelorette party for, you
yes.
know,
Yes,
everybody
you
that
were.
knows you as Rachel Wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew me when I was Rachel Teal. And again, I'm so grateful for that and that we're great friends, and some of those yeah, that's the bachelorette party that we don't always share all the details from that because it was really fun. Um, and our paths have continued to cross over the years in so many different ways. Just from, hanging out with you and your amazing husband Wit is always fun and at the Hinman and just at lots of different events. And I love that we're able to do this. So in this season, Janet, you're going to be a guest not only on this episode, but you're going to be a guest in when we get to the element of the inspired hygiene system that is the business some of the business systems. So we're going to talk about some things there too. So be sure you tune in on that one is available. Okay, so Janet, you are a hygienist, obviously. You are an author. You've written 3 books. You've spoken across the U.S., internationally. You've been a coach for 26 plus years. And you also have a real unique position in that you've been the director of dental hygiene for a DSO that had over 100 practices.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is like hygiene coaching on steroids, right? Every single day. And and then you've translated that into a lot of different areas that you've really impacted the dental industry from being the case acceptance expert and teaching that, right? That sales doesn't have to be, a word that we are scared of or we feel bad about, that we're actually, you have just a really elegant way of kind of bringing that into dentistry. And then also you're fractional director of hygiene for DSOs as well. And so I think that is why I asked you to do this is is because this episode, we're diving deeper into how to empower our team, specifically how to empower hygienists. I think most of the dentists you and I know want team members who can make independent decisions, who can, have conversations with patients, have confident professional conversations with team members, and just be empowered to be their best. And so you have really just had an extraordinary amount of experience in that area in really developing hygienists. But you really take it from the first before they're even hired. Like you really take this empowerment conversation all the way back to really when leaders are having conversations with potential candidates. So I'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you feel like are the foundational pieces that need to be in place in order to achieve that, like, ideal of having those empowered team members that are, that are really on fire and, like, ready to grow, themselves and their team?
Whoa, yes. Well, I'll focus on hygiene because that's what we're talking about right
Okay.
now. But the very first thing is having the buy-in of the dentist. Now, you mentioned most of the dentists that we deal with want empowered team members, and that's true. But not all of them. So it's important
Mhm.
that we know that the dentist is on board and really wants that kind of a relationship with the team members. So that's the first thing, making sure we have their buy-in. I believe that we all have these seeds of potential that can be teased out of us. I mean, that's the basic of my Bloom book and my Bloom philosophy. So one of the things I try to do, and I feel like I have a unique gift in this, is, and I learned it from Victoria, uh, seeing things in people that they don't even see in themselves. And one of the ways I try to understand somebody's values is by a profile. It's a little assessment created to get to know people a little bit better and to understand where are they in a leadership scale. Are they like just hungry for leadership, or are they, no, not really, I just want to come and do my job. And there's nothing wrong with that. We can't all be we need Indians as well as chiefs. So
Mhm.
that's okay, but we want to know that. So I have a little assessment. It's very simple that people fill out, and it has some important questions like, what's the most important thing to you about your work, your career, your job, where it is? Or if it's a new person, what's the most important thing to you about, where you did work? Why did you leave? Why are you interested in this new position? What attracted you to it? Um, Questions like, what open-ended questions, what's most important to you about your career and your job, are really eye-opening. And then just some silly questions like, what TV shows do you like to watch? What are the top 3 TV shows you like to watch? What are the top 3 favorite books you've read lately in the last year? What trade journals do you read? So it kind of gives me an idea about, if they have 3 TV shows and they're sitcoms and they don't read anything and they don't read trade journals and they don't listen to podcasts. Um, and then, do you want to grow your leadership skills? So
Mhm.
those are the kind of things that I look for. And now, none of that's good or bad, Rachel. But the kinds of things you would look for. We know leaders are readers, right? Readers make
Yep.
leaders. So we just know that if somebody wants to develop their leadership and they're not a reader, it's going to take a lot longer to develop those skills unless they're willing to acquire that habit. So that's one of the things that I do, um, to get to know where people are in their leadership scope. So when I go in, for example, as a fractional CHO, one of the things I try to do by the time I leave, having developed their systems, is to have groomed somebody within the company for that leadership position to step into those shoes and knowing that they're ready. So I need to know at the beginning who
Mm.
interested in that and who is not. So I had a client of about 5 offices, and when I asked those questions, there was one person who were right at the beginning. "Welcome, Janet. I'm so glad you're here. If there's anything I can do to help you. Yes, I want to develop my leadership skills." And then we had others that didn't bother to answer, the email for a while without some prompting. So predictably, she was the one that absolutely grew. Um, so that I would say is the first thing.
Hmm.
And then
So,
another uh, go ahead.
so can we dive into that profile a little bit more?
Sure.
I wanna dive into that because there's a lot of
Mhm.
gold there. And this is on your website, so it's a resource that folks can get on your website. So we're gonna put a link to that in the show notes. But what you wanna give everybody your website now?
Yeah, it's my name, Janet Hagerman, JanetHagerman.com, janethagerman.com, and one of the tabs up there is resources, and under that, there are free resources, so there's about a dozen, I think.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so everybody check those out, and we're gonna link that in the, show notes as well. Okay,
Yeah.
so a couple things I heard were, this survey can be used for new potential hires for candidates,
Mhm.
or it can also be used for your existing team.
Mm.
If you
Yeah.
want to kinda see, like, okay, where is everybody right now in their desire to grow, their desire to maybe move into a leadership position, that
Mhm.
sounds that sounds like a really great resource even with existing team members. But I'd love
Mhm.
to talk just a little bit more about what those questions reveal. So you said, not everybody, I mean, I believe everybody has the potential if they desire it to have leadership, even if they're leading themselves, because that's a powerful type of leadership. We talked about that a little bit in some of the previous episodes of this season. Is that leadership is, you've got to be able to kind of self motivate and keep yourself on track during the day, and keep a positive attitude, have control of how you respond to situations and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think that is really impactful. And so let's dive a little bit deeper into the question about, like, their TV shows and the books that they read and all of that. So, what are some of the things that you've seen that maybe have surprised you, and or things that you've seen that have confirmed maybe or been confirmed by the individual's behavior based on what they've answered? Like, I'd love to just dive into some of those questions and what you've seen over the years that those reveal.
They reveal a level of interest in personal growth and
Yeah.
development. They reveal the clock punchers. And they also reveal, how willing people are to be coached. They
Mhm.
reveal, whether, if you go into a group and you're working with a group of hygiene, I don't need to tell you this. One of the first things we have to do is get buy-in from the hygienists. And
Yeah.
there are some that just they either don't want us there and they're fairly obvious about it,
Mhm.
or something of, I'll sit here, here's another coach he wants me to listen to. I'll listen very nicely, and then I'll go off and do precisely what I've always been
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
So that survey gives me a feeling for how coachable they are, how engaged they are in the process, how eager they are to get new ideas, whatever those might be, and consider them, or are they not interested in learning or growing at all, just leave me
Yeah.
alone and let me scrape teeth, or
Yeah.
not. Um,
Yeah. We've seen that, and we've recommended, with interview questions to ask something like, "Tell me about the last 2 CE courses that you took,"
Mm.
And if it's something where I drove 2 hours to go to this particular course because I really like that speaker, or this was a topic I wanted to learn about, that says a lot.
yeah,
Or, I just go to whatever CE is offered by my local hygiene component. Now, they're taking CE. And again, I'm not saying all these are wrong answers, but
Mhm.
if you're looking for a particular type of team member or individual for a specific role, like maybe you're hiring for a hygiene lead, right? These are things that can be very revealing of how successful they're going to be in that role and how willing they are to learn and be coached. And how do they
Absolutely.
seek out education?
How do they what?
How do they seek out education?
Oh, yeah. Or is it I just take online courses to
Right.
fulfill CE
Mhm.
needs. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And, on the other hand, they these some people may not be leaders necessarily, but at least they're compliant.
And consistent.
Consistently compliant, and that's okay. If you have a big
Yeah.
team, you need some consistently compliant people to
Yeah.
follow the leader. That's a whole nother conversation, but when you have somebody that, you groom to be a leader, and then the problem becomes, well, now these people that were my peers, now I'm the leader of them. How do I make that transformation
Mhm.
to that
Mhm.
level and still have good relationships with my
Mhm.
team?
Mhm.
So you need people that are willing to go with the flow,
Mhm.
consistent, and be compliant.
Yeah, and I would say that is honoring the practice philosophies. So, I always ask a question when I'm talking to a leader of a practice that's considering engaging with inspired hygiene, because as you said, like it's critical for the hygienist to feel supported. They must feel that they have a voice in any
Mhm.
type of changes in clinical protocols. That's very important, and we believe in that
Yeah.
100%. And we're all hygienists too, right? So we respect that. And but I always ask, I'm like, so tell me, have you had a conversation with your hygienist about the potential of working with a coach? And what was their response? And it is often, well, these two, they'll pretty much do whatever we ask them to do, which are the ones
Mhm.
that you're describing right now. They're very
Mhm.
pleasant. It might take a bit of, coaching to get them on board, but they're gonna follow whatever our lead is. And then we've got, another hygienist who's been wanting us to do this for years, and or they didn't even know there was a coach, but they've said, like, we really need to get all of our hygienists on the same page. We need to get
Mhm.
calibrated, right? And then there's also those that are like, yeah, this person, and I'll just be, I'll just gonna tell you guys all how it is, just straight up. It's typically hygienists who have been in the industry for a very long time and been in the practice for a very long time. They are more likely to be hesitant about change. And I mean, that's kind of an obvious statement, right? If they've been in the same practice for 25 years, they've been in dental hygiene for 25 or 30 years, that right there, right? They're loyal. They are likely consistent, and getting them to do something differently is likely going to take a bit more coaching, and also they want the evidence. Sometimes all it is like, I just want to make sure that this is based on sound science, and this is not just the next, consultant coming in with the next new flashy thing. Like, that is, I would say, 80% of the time, when you can build trust with those individuals, then they will take what's being taught, they feel empowered, and they
Yeah.
will implement it.
Yeah.
And they might have a lot of questions, and that is okay.
Questions are great. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And,
absolutely.
it's change and uncertainty. So I think if you can
Yeah.
provide certainty and just provide positive support, this may
Yes.
be something different, or it may be something that you've heard of before, but it's going to have a different perspective. And the only thing that I ask is that you be open minded, ask
Yeah.
plenty of questions, and we're here to support you because we work with great teams, and you're already a great team, and we're just going to take it another step further. So yeah, I always like to be just really support people and be very positive in
Yes.
any kind of
Same.
relationship. Yeah.
Same. Yeah, we approach it in the exact same way. Is there's not there's never You're never going to get someone to feel empowered if you're disempowering them based on what happened in the past,
From the
right?
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're talking about what was wrong in the past, no, we're not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
we're here to move forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So then this survey is relevant for new hires. It's relevant for existing team members to kind of get an idea, a sense of like, where are they from their desire to learn, leadership, coachability, all of that. I think that's fantastic.
Well,
Okay,
and
so
just
now,
personality too, you find things in common with each other, so it
yeah.
gives you a starting ground to develop a relationship if it's a new employee.
And you know what? Like, if they say they read, not everything is, you might be a dentist interviewing this person, and you might also really like Real Housewives of Utah or whatever, and maybe this person does too, and you've bonded on that, right? So you make a little
Mhm.
bite. You're like, I know, I actually kind of that's one of my guilty pleasures. So we not,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
you just never know,
Yeah,
but it does give you a starting point perhaps, and you might,
yeah,
find some things. So the point is, it's like this is not a judgment that like there's right or wrong answers to everything, but it's just gonna
yeah.
reveal some things. Okay. So now you've done that, and let's say this is a new team member, and now you're gonna have this onboarding period. So
Mhm.
how do you set the expectation for for this team member being empowered? How do you really set them up for success in their onboarding?
Have an onboarding process
Yeah.
is number one. Because so often team members are just thrown in and,
Yes.
even maybe a little bit of guidance, maybe not. Maybe the office manager tells them some stuff and maybe not. Um, for starters, yes, I think it's important to have a mentor, another hygienist to mentor. It's important to have written documentation that they can what is your perio protocol? Do you have a perio protocol? What
Mhm.
does that look like? These are
Mhm.
our clinical expectations.
Mhm.
It's shocking how many offices don't have a current code book, ADA code
Yep.
book.
Yep.
Um, Documentation. It's shocking how many hygienists don't know about staging and grading.
Mhm.
So, just having a written resource that that person can go back to, and
Mhm.
then someone in the practice that they can mentor. Not just
Mhm.
throwing them in the first day with the full schedule, but if we're talking about hygienists, mentoring another hygienist for a day or two, and then
Mhm.
getting into easing into a slow schedule till so that they can get with the program for the office or the company,
Yeah.
if you're playing a DSO. And then moving forward, I'm a firm believer in doctor hygiene meetings monthly, um, to calibrate the doctor and the hygienist. That's just crucial, and it is so, so effective to creating that aligned partnership with the doctor.
Mhm.
I've seen doctors and hygienists who weren't speaking to each other,
Mhm.
and they were forced to sit down, look each other in the eye, talk about their differences, and within 3 months, for just 3 meetings, they're best buddies now, totally aligned,
Mm.
saying things the same way, loving each other, so, um, that's crucial to me for
That is an
empowering
amazing
both.
transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
for
because
empowering
okay, so let's sorry, Janet, didn't mean to talk over you. So, let's dive in. I know we did this on the first, episode of this, element, this empowered team element. This is a big piece of the inspired hygiene system because, dentists don't wanna carry the load. They don't wanna have to start every diagnostic confirmation conversation from
Oh,
scratch.
yeah,
And goodness knows, right, hygienists don't want them to do that either because that means the exam takes a lot of time. So that means that those team members and every team member can be empowered in their own way based on their role. But really what it means practically is like if the hygienist sees something and they know that that's a problem based on their practice clinical philosophy, that they can begin that conversation with the patient. They can begin to educate the patient on what they're seeing. They can make decisions within the framework of an agreed upon standard of care. And the doctor's gonna back them up on those conversations that they're happening. Would you agree that that's a basic definition of this type of clinical empowerment?
absolutely. Absolutely, and there's no reason that the hygienist can't be doing all of that. So when the doctor comes in, it's basically, what do we call that necktie exam? Just yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly what I see, Rachel. So, and the hygienist can I get tired of hearing, "Oh, well, hygienists can't diagnose."
I
Well,
know.
no, they can't diagnose, but it's semantics. They can certainly
Exactly.
assess make
Yes.
recommendations and let the patient know. When the doctor comes in, I want to bring that to her attention because I'm concerned about that. And this is what it looks like to me. What questions do you have about it? Are you aware of it? What can I answer about that for you? Is it hurting yet? Those types of
Yeah.
things. So by the time the doctor comes in, and I use a sheet that is like a template that I teach that hygienists can use, but just to mark every tooth in the mouth. If there are 3 areas that you're looking at, jot them down so when the doctor comes in, you can say, "Yes, Rachel did great today. I would like to bring to your attention this, and this is the perio
Mhm.
situation as I see it." And
Mhm.
if they've been having these meetings, this is a very comfortable conversation. Who was I
Mhm.
listening to? I think it was Brad Hughes that said, "I have never in my entire career disagreed with a hygienist." I think it was on your
Mhm.
show, on your podcast.
Yeah, that was a great
So
episode with Doctor Brad Hughes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so to be able to say, "I don't ever wanna disagree with you," and certainly not in front of a patient, to
Yes.
be able to have that kind of relationship where you're both seeing the same thing. So that's
Yes.
empowering not just for the hygienist, but for the doctor as well, to know that you have that kind of relationship with your hygienist. So it's
Yeah.
empowering for the whole team.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's a great example of really what empowered team means is they are stepping forward with their own knowledge, because they are calibrated with their doctor.
Yeah.
They are very comfortable with what the doctor is gonna recommend, and that goes back to that whole, mentoring thing, Janet, that you talked about when you have new team members come on board, like, give them an opportunity to shadow. Like, don't just jump in there. I know things are tight right now with regards to scheduling and hygienists, and sometimes you're kind of desperate to get them, seeing patients, but it's worth the investment of time for them to see how the other hygienists are empowered and
Yeah.
how they interact with the doctor. It's like, "Oh, okay, so I can actually observe something, take an intro photo, talk to the patient about it, and doctor's gonna back me up." And, it might take some time. Doctor might say, "Let's take this baby step," right? Because we haven't had a chance, with the new hire yet to kind of calibrate that philosophy. But certainly that would be the expectation. I would think within 90 days that hygienist and dentist would be very comfortable, with that
Oh,
type
yeah.
of co-diagnosis approach.
Yeah.
And so when they see another hygienist do that, then they recognize like, okay, they want me to step up in this way. And that is very empowering.
Yeah, and that's not something that they teach you in hygiene school or in dental school. They don't teach you how to work with your hygienist. And so it could be very intimidating to feel like you could actually speak up and let the doctor know what you're seeing clinical wise and restorative wise too. That could be very intimidating. So to be able to watch somebody else do it, I think is really powerful.
It is, and you're so right, and I'm gonna recommend that everybody listen to season 4, episode 10, because I actually give some specific ideas of how can you in your community, if you have a dental hygiene program in your community, like, what a great thing to go and do a little lunch and learn on
Mhm.
is, "Hey, this is actually the way that this works in real life is
Mhm.
I'm depending on this hygienist. You guys are spending, if you're in hygiene school, at least an hour observing and making notes of what you see with every one of your patients in hygiene school.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
reason is so that you can do the same thing in 5 minutes when you're in private practice. And
Mhm.
so, that's a way that leaders can kind of start to develop that in their hygienists that are coming into their community, like, be proactive with that, and that's what we suggest. I mean, that's a great topic for those monthly hygiene doctor meetings is,
Absolutely.
um, it is, "Okay, let's look at some cases together." Dentists, take photos. Take photos while you are prepping the teeth, right, in different stages. What do you see? What does it look like when you take that old crusty amalgam out? Because we don't ever see that as hygienists. And go through some cases and really like say, "Hey, I want you to start thinking like a dentist. I depend on you, to kind of start to bring these things up." What are some other really great topics that you've seen with these monthly doctor hygiene meetings that are real powerful?
Well, let me say this.
Okay.
Let me just because I think this is important when you're talking about going to talk to students. Um,
Oh, yeah.
as I look at this from the hygienist perspective. Um, as a hygienist going to apply for a job and you're talking to the dentist, how would it be if the hygienist said, "Doctor, I'd very much like to talk about how this worked, the handoff. In my experience, and if you're new and right out of school, you can still say in my experience because it is your experience. But what I like to do is help you by preparing you with the patient. I'd like to, assess what I see might be some restorative needs and talk to the doctor about it. Can you imagine? So a doctor who doesn't even know about that, who's never
Yep.
had that situation before. But for the hygienist to have the chutzpah to bring it up to the doctor in a very professional manner and say, "I'm thinking that we could work, really well together, having meetings regularly, so I can be on the same page with you and help
Mm,
you shorten our the time that you'd be with the patient." And I think that that would empower doctors who aren't used to looking at it that way as well. And can you
mhm.
imagine the hygienist that goes in there and actually brings it to the doctor's attention?
Yes.
And then they're
That's
successful. It
powerful.
would be very powerful for both of them.
So, okay, so we'll get back to the meeting topics here in a second, but you reminded me of something. Just this week, I had a
Mhm.
conversation with another hygienist who is a business owner. And I mean, she's a business owner, she's a go-getter, she's a leader, right? And she said, she's like, "Oh my gosh," like, because I we teach that at Inspired Hygiene, how to empower your hygienist and create consistency with that. And she said, "Where have you been?" I was like, "Well, we've been here for 20 years. I don't know. We haven't we just hadn't met." But what she said was she said, "Yeah, I would say that, just what you said, Janet." And she said, "I've had dentists say, 'You know what? I just need you to stay in your lane. That's not your role to do that, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.'" And what she realized was that was not the type of practice that she most enjoyed working in.
Yep. Yep.
Every dentist is gonna have their preferences around that.
Yeah.
But she enjoyed, as I have, and I know you have, enjoyed in more of a diagnostic partnership model. It's very fulfilling. It's fun. You get to learn a lot. The patients really respect you.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it is interesting. It's not I mean, it's boring to just sit and,
Yeah.
do the same thing every day, so and it's fun and exciting to partner with your doctor.
Yes. It really is. Okay, so what are those monthly doctor hygiene meetings? Can you share a little bit about some of the topics or format that you've seen work really well?
Well, you mentioned it earlier, and that is every team meeting, and I have, in one of my free resources is my, Meetings Make Money manual. It's a
Yes.
guide for having office meetings, and so there are templates in there for the different meetings, but, every meeting, take out 2 cases and review them. Look at the X-rays, look at the intraoral photos, look at the notes, and the 2 of you have a conversation about how you would diagnose. I talked to a doctor and hygienist about having these meetings, and I felt kind of funny talking to them because they had worked together for years, and they
Mhm.
were new to this practice, and so we had a conversation about them having meetings and what they could learn from that, even though they'd been together for years. They were best buddies, and they felt like they were very congruent. But halfway through, the doctor went, "Oh my gosh, I just realized something," he said. I just realized that I have not been supporting you at all in these oral cancer screenings. I
Wow.
know you've been recommending it, but I have not really been supporting you at all in that. I am so sorry. And so,
Wow.
even though they'd been together for years, very successfully, by having time to just sit down and have focused conversation aside from the busyness of your day to day, that's crucial. I hear at the beginning, the resistance is, oh, we talk all day long. We're constantly talking. No, 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 no. I'm talking about focused time, uninterrupted, no patient there. You can accomplish a lot. So it's not just doctor hygienists that are not getting along that this can help. It's also doctor hygienists that have gotten along great for years.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's one of the things, but also once you get to the point where you are congruent, to be learn to look at your KPIs, learn to look at your numbers, your metrics, the data. Why were our new patients down? Why did our perio go down so much this month or this week? Um, why did our oral cancer screenings? Why did we not do enough oral cancer screenings? It's a red flag that is it was not the trend. Um,
Mm.
so and then also like future, like what do we want to do in the future? Talk about either future forecasting or fun projects that you can do as a team. So there's all sorts of topics that
Yeah.
you can together come up
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
To be a strong
And
team.
having that voice, right, in the practice and in that kind of partnership is really, really impactful and very empowering. And I would
Yeah,
say, what you said about looking at your metrics, that is one of the characteristics I would say of an empowered team member
yeah,
is being willing to look at those and not feel like it's a threat or it's a judgment, but it is like, hey, what are we doing really well? Where do we need to maybe refocus?
yeah.
And just using it as a gauge to just evaluate, how things are going rather than feeling threatened, and that's a really great sign that your team feels empowered when they're willing to do that.
Absolutely, and let
Um,
me just speak a little bit more
yeah,
to that, but,
yeah,
in the DSO world, the hygiene leaders in the DSO it's sort of a joke that, the clinicians are always saying all corporate cares about is numbers.
mm,
So, the message here is and I will tell you, I used to be one of those people years ago. I mean, this tells you how long ago I've been in dentistry, but years ago, I was one of those that said, "Look, I'm not into the number stuff. That's for the front desk. I just wanna stay in my clinical, wheelhouse here." But, w w I think one if you can introduce it, and I have since learned how to do that, introduce it to clinicians to providers in a way that helps them and supports them, it becomes a tool, an amazing tool for self coaching, actually, when you learn to look at those numbers and then translate that to clinical improvement. It's huge.
it is
Yeah, talk
huge.
about
We've seen
empowering.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've seen that over and over when the hygienists are writing down or they're entering their data and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't recommend any, periodontal therapy this week." And it is absolutely a tool for self-coaching. It's like, "Hey, then how can we support you?" Right? How can we
Yeah.
support you? Not, "Yeah, I saw that. That wasn't very good." It's like, "All right, is that something that you want to improve? Like that's something we've been working on together. How can we support you? What do you feel like is holding you back?" So that's the whole key, right, to creating an empowered team is the and support in helping them grow. And I think this ties right back, Janet, is a good way to wrap too, is like, what did you say about developing others when we first started the podcast?
Learn their
Like,
values.
yeah, learn their values and see in others, right, what they
Oh,
may
see
not be
see
able
the
to see in
potential in
themselves.
other people.
Yeah.
That they don't even realize that they have. And this sort of
Yes.
goes right full circle back to the survey that we do.
Yes.
So if I can say, Suzanne, I remember that you told me that your most important value was to help people. Help me understand how we're doing that. I'm gonna support you in that. So let's take a look at how this is the tools that we have to help you realize your goal, that this is your
Yep.
value.
Yep. It
Yeah,
all comes back to making it personal and specific to that individual, whether it's a patient or a team member, and I love that. You're collecting that information of what's important to them so that you can help them, like, be at that level. Yeah,
yeah,
fulfill what they say are their values.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
love it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I enjoyed this. I
Have
enjoyed
fun.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really fun that we get to do this together. And so, everybody, thank you so much for being with us. We will put Janet's links in the show notes. I'm assuming your books are also on your website, Janet, or links to your books.
They're not. The manual is in the free resources. The books are on Amazon.
Okay, so look for Janet's books on Amazon, Bloom, and tell us the name of your other books.
Selling Dentistry Ethically, Elegantly, and Effectively.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, Janet will be back on a future episode, so be sure you check that out. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Inspired Hygiene Podcast. We hope you got a ton of value and ideas and action steps that you can implement right away. If we can help you in any way to optimize your hygiene department, head on over to inspiredhygiene.com to book a discovery meeting with us. As always, stay inspired.